Hello and welcome to this video. The topic for our discussion today is a very interesting and exciting poem which comes from a poet who is counted amidst the most significant of all American poets, Emily Dickinson. Emily was born in 1830 in Amherst, Massachusetts in America, and she was a recluse who lived much of her life in isolation and was considered an eccentric by the locals. She used to get clad in white dress and never used to meet people. Emily was a prolific poet, and most of her poems deal with the themes of death, immortality, and human emotions. And Emily was highly unconventional in her poetic style, be it the use of meter or of syntax. And Emily's poetic style seeks to convey her observations in short lines of a few words each, and her style is referred to as aphoristic, like that of Bacon. Emily's curious personality, the profundity of her thoughts, and the very richness of her poetic style are all the factors which has made her place secure amidst the most canonical of all American poets of the 19th century. And students, Emily is very important for you because whatever exam you take up in future, Emily is most likely to be there, as she is counted amongst the most popular of American poets, and reading Emily and understanding her poetic style and her craft is very significant for you as a student. If we glimpse at the syllabi of universities across India, or even overseas for that matter, we'll surely find some 5 or 6 of the important poems by Emily listed there in the course, of course with slight variations, intended to map the contribution which Emily has made to the American studies and to the literature in general. Well, that's Emily for you, and now let's have a look at the poem, which is entitled Hope is the Thing with Feathers. Please pay attention to the text of the poem on your screens. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words, and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and so must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. In this poem, Emily honors the human capacity for hope. She makes use of an extended metaphor. She portrays hope as a bird that settles, that roosts within the human soul. And this bird keeps singing, come what may, come rain or shine, gale or storm, good times or bad times, it keeps singing. Emily clearly and strongly illustrates that hope has been helpful in times of difficulty, and it never asks for anything in return. She defines hope as a feathered creature that dwells inside the human spirit, and this feathery thing sings a wordless tune, and not stopping under any circumstances, which becomes our driving force throughout our life. And the tunes and melodies of this bird sounds best when one is in difficulty, when we hear it in fierce winds in the gale storms. And it takes only an incredibly severe storm to stop this bird from singing. And the hope bird has made many people feel warm and feel light in the time of adversities. And even the speaker has heard the birds singing in the coldest places and on the weirdest of seas. But in the speaker's experiences, even the most extreme ones, the bird has never asked for anything in return. So this poem serves as a hymn of praise for the hope. And it actually honors the human capacity for hope. This poem argues that hope is miraculous and almost impossible to defeat, and hope never asks for anything in return. It costs nothing for people to maintain hope. Hope is the thing with feathers. It implores its readers to make good use of hope and to see it as an essential, deeply valuable part of our existence. The poem begins by establishing its key metaphor, that is, the hope is a bird, and it then asserts that this bird keeps singing throughout, and despite all it does, it never asks for anything in return, and it is very significant both to individuals and to humanity as a whole. And we need to see hope with clear eyes, and we should not take it for granted. And the hope is directly linked with the human spirit, where it sings without ever stopping. The poem seems to maintain that people can stay hopeful throughout their life, as this hope has the capacity to sustain them. There might be times when people do seem to lose their strength, but hope still plays an important role in these situations. It can keep people warm even in the worst situations, and there lies its importance. Hope costs nothing, not a crumb, yet it can literally and figuratively keep people alive. With hope, people can make it through the hardest of times. They just have to listen to the little bird. They just need to pay heed to the bird which is singing in their spirit in the form of hope, which is singing its tunes. Students, Emily is remarkable for amalgamating abstract concepts with concrete ideas or images, and which happens in this poem too, as she's comparing the hope to a bird. And then she explains how hope is like a bird and why that connection is important. In the very starting lines, there is a use of consonants, thing, feathers, and that the repetition of the sound is there, and it actually gives the poem a gentle start. The image of the bird perching in human soul works as an apt illustration that hope is always present in the soul. Let's observe some of the linguistic features of this poem. Dickinson most often punctuates her poems with dashes, which you can see in this poem. She seldom makes use of periods or commas. She makes use of dashes only, and she even capitalizes her words, and not just words at the beginning of a line. And she capitalizes to highlight and intensify the meaning, and the capitalization is used to set apart the words, so she can present them in a symbolic way. Emily most certainly has a unique style, and her poems are replete with extensive dashes, dots, unconventional capitalizations, and in addition to it, she makes use of vivid imagery. Her vocab is curious, and one of the most prominent things is that instead of pentameter, she makes use of trimester, tetrameter, and even diameter at times. And if we talk about this particular poem, then this poem begins with a metaphor, an extended metaphor, and then we have consonants, as we have the repetition of the words soar and storm. So repetition of S is there. Then again we have the same consonants going in the form of strangers to see, and mark the way this phrase, strangers to see, it rhymes with the last line, a crumb of me. See and me, it rhymes pretty well. Her very choice of diction is quite curious, the way she makes use of the word purchase and then a bash for the little bird, and that's quite extraordinary. No wonder Emily captures the attention of the new researchers who intend to research on her linguistic properties. The poem follows the ABCD's rhyme scheme, and it obviously has iambic trimeter. Emily introduces her metaphor in the first two lines, and then develops it throughout the poem by telling what the bird does and how it reacts to hardship, where it can be found, that is everywhere from chillest land to strangest of seas, and what it asks for itself, that is it asks for nothing, not even a single crumb. Emily's choice of diction is quite rich and apt, and the poem has a nice rhythm. As we discussed earlier, that Emily is quite popular for her aphoristic style, and this poem serves as a best example. In fact, this poem is one of her most beautiful of poems. which are known not only for their style but also for their thought. And this poem reminds you that there is a force in the universe giving you a reason to get up the next day, to keep on keeping on. This one is highly motivating and inciting a poem. Okay, to recall the poem once again, Emily compares hope to a bird with feathers, and it perches in the soul, and this bird roosts and settles in the soul, and it keeps singing wordless tunes without taking pause, and it never stops. And the song of this bird sounds sweetest when one is amidst the storms, when one is countered by the adverse situations, and then too this bird keeps supporting the soul, it keeps singing its tunes, and it takes a terrifying storm to ever abash this bird, to ever let down this bird that keeps everybody warm. But still this bird never withers away, because it has the sustaining capacity, and it can keeps one uplifted. And even the poet's own experience stands a testimony to the capacity of this bird called hope, because the poet herself has heard this bird singing in the chillest land, that is in the difficult situations, in the most difficult of storms in her life. She has been supported by this bird. And even if the situation was extreme, she was counted by the extreme of situations, then to this bird helped her. And what is more generous of this bird is that it never asked for anything in return. I hope this particular poem is clear to you, and if you have any doubts or queries about this poem, you can leave your comments below. And I would advise you to explore more of Emily and some of the important poems by Emily, at least the 5 or 6 of them, because you guys are doing masters, and it's never sufficient to just do one poem which is there in your course. Because you should focus on mastering the poet which is in your course. That would always help you. So if you would explore more of Emily's poetry, you will get to know Emily better, and that should be your spirit, to explore the poet, to understand the poet, and to see how she represents her times. In your syllabus, you have 2 of her poems, and which are typical Emily poems, be it form or style. And it's quite typical of Dickinson's work, which is sparse and compact, philosophical yet approachable, meditative and inspirational, and that's what Emily is. Oh well, that's all for now. Thank you for your patient listening.